Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures. Scuba diving, the British Virgin Islands. Dive site, the RMS Rhone wreck, stern. The RMS Rhone was wrecked just off Salt Island in the British Virgin Islands. Here's the satellite view of the dive site. Here I've made a drawing of the dive site and its orientation in relation to Salt Island, and another drawing showing our dive plan. This dive site is good for snorkeling and rated as novice. It has moderate exposure to weather, and those weather patterns only from the east. This video was recorded over the course of a single tank dive on the morning of November 1st, 2022. The dive started about 10:25 and lasted nearly a full hour. This was our second dive on the RMS Rhone wreck. The morning dive had been on the bow section. My dive computer recorded a maximum depth of 70 feet and an average depth of 39 feet. The water was a comfortable 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was diving in just trunks and a rash guard. Similar to the morning dive, the visibility was not spectacular. However, the sky had started to clear and we had a little bit more sunlight, so that did help to improve the visibility overall over the morning dive. The stern dive site, as you can see, doesn't have as much of an organized wreck, but more wreckage strewn over a larger area of the ocean floor. This dive site more accurately reflects what I had envisioned diving a wreck that had been underwater for over 155 years. Although there's less structure here, there's still quite a bit, and much more than I would assume would be found after such a long time in the salt water. I was really enjoying the sunlight here and the way it was coming in on the top of this wreck. I shot a whole series of photographs here, experimenting with different settings to try and capture the sun's rays coming through the water and hitting the top of the wreck. As you can see, there's quite a bit of particulate in the water today. This tends to cause backscatter, and I'm trying to compensate for that with different settings on the camera. It doesn't always work. However, I was pleased with some of the photographs from this dive. You can find those photographs on my Facebook page, which is simply facebook.com/StanleyScuba. It's amazing how much growth there is. The ocean really has taken over the wreck. The RMS Rhone was lost on October 29th, 1867 in a hurricane. It had an iron hull and was 310 feet long. It had a beam of 40 feet, or in other words, was 40 feet wide. She weighed 2,738 gross tons, empty. She was a sail steamer. Rigged as a two-masted brig. A brig is a type of sailing vessel. It's defined by its rig. Two masts, which are both square rigged. In a square rig, the primary driving sails are carried on horizontal spars, and those perpendicular or square to the keel of the vessel. She was capable of producing 500 horsepower with her compound steam engine. This gave her a top speed of about 14 knots. The Rhone really was an innovative ship for its time. It was one of the first ships to utilize a bronze propeller. There were approximately 145 crew and passengers on board her when she went down. Of those, only 25 people survived. It's my understanding that most of the bodies were recovered and buried on Salt Island nearby. There's a lot of information available about the ship's design and its history, service before it sank, and also about the actual sinking. A simple Google search and you'll find a plethora of information. A lot of the underwater scenes for the 1977 movie The Deep were filmed here on this wreck. The movie starred Robert Shaw, Jacqueline Bisset, and Nick Nolte. It's my understanding that none of the cast knew how to scuba dive before joining the film, and then they were subsequently taught how to scuba dive. It's a pretty good film, in my opinion. I watched it again recently, after diving the wreck. Here you can see a section of the aft mast. And a little parrotfish swimming alongside. I didn't call out as many of the structures on this dive as I did on the first dive. They were just harder for me to discern, and I didn't want to guess at what was what. Here's the trumpet fish. I saw quite a few of those on this dive. Similar to the bow dive site, there were an abundance of fish and obviously lots of growth and life everywhere. If you get a chance to visit the British Virgin Islands and do some scuba diving, I highly recommend diving the RMS Rhone dive site. I've enjoyed all of my diving so far in the British Virgin Islands. The visibility could have been better, but at this time of year my expectations were very low, so I was not disappointed at all. Here you can see again at this stern section, the wreckage is really spread over a large area. I would really appreciate some feedback on the length of this video. Do you enjoy the longer dive videos, or do you prefer the short dive videos? I was considering trying to shoot a dive in its entirety from beginning to end. So I'm curious to see if there's any interest in this. I typically will video the entire dive and then edit it down quite a bit. Anyway, your feedback is welcome and very much appreciated.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.